Well, the first thing that I am going to start on is the soup. And I have this pot right here. I'm just going to add a little blended oil, which is a canola soy blend. So I'm just going to get a little oil in there. I'm going to jump right in and get the mushrooms in. I'll come back and show you guys how to prep some of those.
Okay, so let's talk about the different kinds that we're using.
Okay, so this first one is oyster mushroom. You know, bolete actually means mushroom in Latin.
Does it? I didn't know that.
It does. And so it is one of our favorite ingredients. And it's very tough for me sometimes to distinguish between the taste of the different mushrooms because I know it as an oyster mushroom.
Yes.
So these are a little bit more mild and kind of, they have a very delicate flavor. So we're just going to go ahead and get some of these guys in here. One of the things when you're first starting to cook mushrooms, you actually want the heat to be pretty high, right? So I'm just going to turn that up a little bit. And so all 4 of these mushrooms come from Ole Valley. So these are royal trumpets. They're a little bit more meaty. They have a more hearty texture.
Yeah, these are have definitely more.
Yes,
chew
a lot
to
more
them
texture. Yes,
than I would
for sure.
say
And I think this, you know, these are always really nice if you have a vegetarian to kind of do almost as, you know, something
Meaty
a little
dish.
bit more meaty. All right. Next we have our cremini, which is really, a lot of people know it as baby portobello mushrooms.
Yep.
So I'm going to go ahead and add those. All right. And last but not least is their shiitake mushroom, which really has a very nutty flavor. Also, I can just keep going up. It's one of my favorite mushrooms, but it's really tough for me to distinguish, you know, which ones are actually my favorite. Okay.
Oh, that smells good already.
Yep. So really the trick with mushrooms, you get them in a hot pan. They do have a lot of moisture in them. So we just really want to saute those until the moisture is out. For a soup, I'll actually add a little salt in the beginning. That'll help pull that moisture out. When we saute them, we usually add the salt towards the end.
Okay.
And that's just so we don't actually steam them, because when you're sauteing a mushroom, you do want a little bit more caramelization.
So if you add the salt too soon, you won't get that brown texture.
Exactly. Okay, next we're going to have shallots and garlic that we're going to add in here. I'm just going to show you one shallot really quickly. One of the things that we do at Bolete is we actually utilize the back slice. A lot of times you'll see chefs rocking forward. One of the things we like to do, if you have a really sharp knife when we julienne, is we actually draw it back. And this allows the knife to do the work for you, and you're slicing rather than tearing.
But do you need a special knife for that?
A sharp knife is
Okay.
pretty much all you'll need. And that really gives you that, it actually doesn't tear the cells. So if you're cutting an onion, a lot of times you'll cut an onion with a back slice and your eyes won't water because it's not releasing a lot of the gas from the onion itself. That in turn also allows you to have a little bit more delicate flavor in your soup. So that's our technique for the back slice. So we're just going to go ahead. I'm going to add these shallots, and I have a little bit. So that's a Japanese vegetable knife, is basically almost like a vegetable cleaver.
Okay.
And it does take a little while to get used to, but it is one of the knives that I use the most in my kitchen. So I'm just going to kind of keep stirring this. And next, I will just add a little bit more sliced shallots that we already have here. And now we're going to go with some garlic. So I'm utilizing the back slice again. One of the things when we use garlic at the restaurant, we actually cut it to order every time. When you have when you have a dish at the restaurant, we literally slice each clove just before we begin sauteing it. And what that does is, again, you're not tearing all the cells. You have a very delicate garlic flavor. So sometimes with a saute, if we're doing one sauteed dish, 1 clove of garlic, it's not going to be overpowering. You really get a very beautiful garlic flavor.
That's a lot of time consuming before you make the dish. So you don't do a lot of prep ahead then?
We don't. And it's really, we try to keep everything as fresh as possible. And really, it makes service challenging, especially with the facilities that we have. We really only have a 6-burner stove. Really no line to speak of. Small kitchen, just a few people back there. But hopefully that's what we think create some of the magic, and there's just a few people that get to taste everything and make sure that the food is cooked just the way it's supposed to be.
So we have a small kitchen staff then?
Very small. Yeah, very small. We try to run it as much like a family as we can, just because you're spending a lot of time together, very close quarters, so it gets interesting sometimes. Okay, so now we kind of have this started. We're just going to let this saute down.
We're getting a little fond on the bottom here.
All right,
is that okay?
See. Yep, that's good. We want a little bit of caramelization.
Okay.
And so we're almost where we need to be on this. So we're going to go ahead and add our white wine. And we have a little sherry.
Is there a specific white wine you like to cook with?
No, I mean, we don't go too crazy. Nothing super expensive, but we don't want to go too cheap. You know, you put quality ingredients in, you get quality out. And we're just going to go ahead and add a little cream to it. Okay, so back to the soup right now, where our wine is reduced, our cream is looking just right. So I'm just going to go ahead and add a little bit of mushroom stock.
Now, how did you make that?
This is, usually we use the trims from the mushrooms.
Okay, so would you take like...
all of the stems that we cut off,
yeah,
usually work out just right.
Okay.
All right.
Cover them with water. Do you put a little mirepoix in it like you would a regular stock, or?
Yeah, we do a little bit lighter than a regular stock. So we'll do the maybe 1 onion, 1 carrot, 1 celery, so just so that it doesn't get too sweet and actually really showcases, you know, the mushroom flavor itself. We usually add thyme, little black peppercorns.
Yep.
So here I have a little clarified butter.
Huh?
Yes. And for this, I'm actually just going to toast. This is a sourdough toast ring. And I'm just going to toast that out. That's going to go into our soup bowl to hold up our egg. Okay, so our last thing for the soup is going to be these eggs. We actually poach in boiling water for 5 minutes and 20 seconds, and then we shock them in ice. So the yolk is still running. We then peel them, so you have a really nice egg that has that soft yolk. And then we'll bread them. Yeah, those are some beautiful, beautiful eggs. So here we'll flour egg wash breadcrumb.
Okay.
And then we'll deep fry those just before we're ready to serve.
So it looks like your plain breadcrumbs, no seasoning in there, huh?
Yep, just straight up. We'll let the egg do the talking.
What kind of oil do you like to fry them in?
We usually use the canola blend also for that too. Our toast ring is just about done, so I'm just going to set that right there for now.
Okay.
We'll turn down our soup. So pretty much our last stage of the soup here, we would end up just pureeing it. And luckily I happen to have a little pureed soup right here. This is always when you're at home and you're frying in a saute pan or a saucepan, it is one of the most dangerous things in the kitchen.
Hot oil?
Yes, so you always want to be careful with that hot oil, especially if there's water around. So we're just going to fry this just until golden brown. It usually takes about less than a minute. If you want to go ahead and take the sourdough crouton, you can place that down in the bowl, the ring there.
Okay, where do you want this?
Over in the bowl. We're pretty much ready to plate here.
Sounds good.
All right. And then I'm just going to set this right here. We'll season this up. I'm going to turn off the oil very quickly. All right. So next, why don't we go ahead, you can set that down here. All right, I'm just going to add a little bit of fresh chives and parsley. All right. So what I like to do is just make almost like a little bird's nest here. All right.
Oh, this smells fantastic.
Wow, thank you. Well, hopefully it will taste as good. Here I have little microgreens. We have some micro radish. This also comes to us from Liberty Gardens. Micro kale and a little micro collard green.
Micro kale, that's great.
Yeah, they grow all kinds of really great stuff.
Looks pretty.
All right. So we're just going to top our egg right there.
Look at that, because he sits right in the little hole of the donut, huh?
Yeah. All right, so we are now just ready for the soup. At the restaurant, we actually pour our soup tableside. So we present the soup like this, and then we'll pour it from a pitcher. That also helps us keep the soup really hot so it makes it to the guest and also serves kind of a really neat presentation.
Beautiful presentation. I love when they do that tableside.